My girlfriend and I were literally talking about this today because she was talking about like the age group of her kids. Her youngest is about to turn 16. I think each generation is going to change, and we look at the generation before us and we can see the difference. You know what I'm saying? I think what ended up happening in the generation that we grew up in, even though it was the crack era, I still think they still had some remnants of good upbringing because I remember crackheads who used to still send their kids to church, even though they didn't go. Those kids were still in church so they can be somewhere safe and have some kind of supervision, right? And I think how we were saying as we were growing up, the talk was they were letting the television raise their children. They would sit the kids in front of the TV and let the TV raise them. But at that time, we still had television that had some positive images on it, right? And I think now the difference is that people are allowing social media to raise their children without any, like what you were saying, with real without any, restraints in it. So they're being exposed to way more things than what we were even exposed to. They have access, immediate access to things that we were never exposed to. And then they have access to people that, even though we may have had ratchet people, it wasn't like it was an overexposure to it the way that it is now. So I think when you put those things together, that is what has happened. But if you were a good parent, just like my parents didn't allow the television to raise us, they monitored what we watched on television. You know what I'm saying? The TV went off at a certain time. Even if we tried to sneak, we had to sneak. So it couldn't happen often. Whereas now, I don't think that parents are trying to put, rails on how their kids access social media. So they're being overexposed to that kind of stuff.
So
And
so this
so,
so this is the thing. You guys, media has always influenced people
mhm.
since the 20s. It was a tool to get the word out. If you look back in the roaring 20s, it was just the style, everything was pushed by through the media, right? Radio, all of those things. So this is nothing new. What has happened is there is an agenda at play. Okay. They know how persuasive the media is. They are pushing that music for a reason. That the music that they're pushing is for a reason. Everything, people, this is strategy, sweeties. This is not just happening. It's all strategic. And as soon as we figure that out, we will be, so much better as people. It,
Well,
it,
Shannon, this
it
is why I say, oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
so I think that that's important to say. We can sit here and be like, oh, because we let our kids do this, we let our kids do that. They've always done it. It ain't just our kids. Their kids watch TV too, but it's just that the representation of us looks a certain kind of way, and so our kids are looking at us and they're like they're mimicking what they see about us, and it's not in our benefit. You
I
you,
think
you understand what I'm saying? But go
I
ahead.
think I think it's more important to be involved now more than ever. And I've said this once on the show before. So when the song WAP came out, it was ridiculously popular, right? And I was going to use that as an opportunity to have a real conversation with my daughter because we have to be involved. We have to try to stay ahead of this foolishness that comes out and that they have access to. When I tried to have this conversation and I started the song up, my daughter said, "Is that what's her name? I forget her name." And she said the artist name, and I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I don't listen to that. It doesn't feed my soul. That ain't what you play." We have to be involved. We get to steer our kids in the direction that is positive and that is righteous. We
Mhm.
can't let social media raise our kids. We can't allow television to raise our kids. We have to get in the middle of that. That is our job as responsible parents and adults. So I just wanted to say that it's up to it's on us.
And real
That's
fast.
why I said that's why I said the buck. So at some point, it's not a when I say Generation X drop the ball, I'm Generation X, right? So when we talk about in this space leadership, I believe, like John Maxwell preaches, that everything rises and falls on leadership. So the buck has to stop somewhere. I can't look back at the booming generation and keep blaming them, although I could, right? Millennials, Generation Y, millennials blame Generation X, and the Z's are blaming Generation X because their parents are either millennials or X, so on and so forth, right? So that's part of it, right? If the buck has to stop somewhere, and somebody just gotta own it, full stop, and say, okay, the generation curse stops here, right? Now, most of us on this panel, especially if we have kids, we don't let TV, like for me, my kid. So I'm on the record: 3 boys, 3 girls, right? 3 boys, 3 girls. Okay. I don't say this to brag. I'm just saying I'm regular, everyday Joe Blow. I'm a salaried employee. I show up regardless of whether I work 1 hour, 100 hours. I get paid the same amount every 2 weeks. Okay. So now my kids. I got a daughter that's married in the Air Force. She's a linguist. She speaks Mandarin and
Oh, it went out.
asking him to
Oh,
do.
okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm going out. My
No,
bad.
you went out. You're back.
Yeah, I'm just running the resume down because I don't want it to turn into like we're not doing what we need to do by our kids because I'll say it like this: my kids are good. Like part of that started with the selection. I give all the accolades to their moms because their moms did an amazing job with them, right? Especially when I had to just work and I couldn't be there for every single thing, right? So I'm straight. The fight that I'm fighting is because I believe in community, right? Marcus in the city. Marcus, I went to the school on the best side of 103rd, on east side of 103rd, right? And in that community, I was just at the LSC meeting yesterday, and we were talking about how they were happy to see me, right? I was the only male other than the teacher that was there who didn't look like us, right? I was the only male representative there, in particular from the community, right? Everybody else was female. So that's one part, right? The other part of it was there were maybe 2 parents there and there are 6 seats available. So there's this apathy that runs in the community where the parents aren't involved. And it's not like for my generation where we were latchkey kids because the parents were working and they left you home because they were out working. No, these parents are just being honest. First of all, these parents are probably maybe 15 years older than their kids, 10 years older than their kids in some instances, straight up. Let's keep it a bean, and the apathy is so intense and so thick. They just don't care. They're literally at home just chilling, doing their TikToks and watching. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the real battle that we're having. I think most of us are doing well, and what's permeating. This is the other thing, Shan, to what you were saying about media has always control. Yeah, it's that's been since Birth of a Nation. D.W. Griffith, right? There's always been an agenda at play. Here's the difference, though. We have the opportunity to control that narrative more than we think, and we don't leverage that in our best interest. You will never see negative media about small hats, and you definitely won't see it about Asians, right? You won't, because they control that narrative. They will not let anything come out disparaging, degrading, or denigrating them. Whereas we put, once there's money attached to it, we say, oh, that's art. That's the culture. Now I know art and culture. I'm a snob. What Marcus got behind him, that's art. That's culture. You know what I'm saying? What AP got posted on his wall with Tupac, Cube. To me, that's art. If you read Rose that grew from concrete, that's culture. You understand what I'm saying? What's being pumped out now is being disguised as art, and is damaging our community and our kids. And as adults, as parents, as people who are concerned, we got to get active at the local level and attack this thing. It's not, don't even worry about the national. Get hyper at the local level to attack this thing.